Thank you so much, Nessa. Dear colleagues, dear friends, it is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the first session of a new FISU webinar series on the topic Dual Career. Today and in the upcoming webinar sessions, we will be hosting selected experts who will talk about the topic of dual career under a specific subtopic. There are many reasons why FISU Education has offered webinars on this topic in the past and now has designed such a series of webinars. First of all, the webinar series aims to discuss the concept of a dual career and share information on this, as well as highlighting the benefits and challenges of a combined academic and sporting career. The webinars therefore also address common challenges faced by student athletes, including time management, mental stress and burnout risk, and offer solutions and strategies to overcome these obstacles. You as participants will learn from best practices from around the world, showcasing how universities and sport organizations have designed and implemented dual career programs that benefit both athletes and institutions. These webinars will offer a global perspective how different countries, regions, and universities approach the integration of academics and athletics, and how these efforts can be scaled and adapted. But we also want to explore with you how dual career programs play a crucial role in developing individuals who can achieve excellence not only in sport, but also as future leaders in the workplace and in society. Last but not least, it is important to highlight that FISU's mission is to promote higher education through sport, to support the implementation of dual career programs, and to promote global partnerships, academic achievement, and sporting success. We hope that each session will encourage interactive discussions and networking between participants, creating a space for the exchange of ideas and solutions to improve dual career pathways for student athletes worldwide. At the end, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all the leading academics, sports administrators, and student athletes who will be contributing to the FISU Dual Career Webinar series. Special thanks goes to the FISU Education Committee, the FISU Education Committee Expert Group, and the staff in the FISU Education and Cultural Department for the excellent work and support. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Verena. That was a wonderful introduction. And for those of you, just to be aware that Dr. Verena Burke is the Senior Executive Committee member with FISU. So thank you very much, Verena, for your wonderful introduction. And it starts us off with a very exciting webinar, and we have three excellent speakers who will present shortly. My own name is Nessa O'Donnell. I'm at the University of Limerick, where we have a very big programme under the dual career supports also, and I'm delighted to facilitate the meeting today. So just to clarify, each of our presenters will have 20 minutes to present, and then we will allow questions and answers thereafter with a small interview as well, also with Samin. So our three presenters today are Andreas Kuttel, Louis Van Zel, and Samin. Pardon me if I get this slightly incorrect with your surname, but it's Samin Abed Kojeste. Okay, so without further delay, I'm going to allow the 20 minutes to commence with our first speaker, Andre Kuttel. So Andre, if you are ready to begin. Andre is an associate professor at the Department of Sports Science and Clinical Biomechanics of the University of Southern Denmark. As a former professional ski jumper and through his experience competing in several Olympics, he has a vast experience of sporting talent development at the very highest level. Today, he combines research, teaching, and applied work in his field of elite sport, and his main research areas contain elite athletes' career and transition, dual career of athletes, and the mental health and well-being in athletes. So we're very excited to hear from you, Andre, and I will give you the floor. I will give you 20 minutes, and I will give you 1 minute notice, if that's okay with you.
Yes,
Andre,
sure.
excellent.
Yes.
Okay, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you very much for this great introduction, and I'm happy to be here with many of you experts. I have prepared a slideshow which I'm trying to share. I'll maybe look a bit at this screen because I have two screens, but I will also try to talk to the camera here. Let me see if this works.
Yes, we have you. That's perfect.
That's perfect. Yes. Yeah, I thought I'd make a presentation with also containing some pictures because ski jumping is difficult to describe, but I think it's pretty easy if you see what I was doing more than 10 years ago, flying with some skis on very big hills. And at the picture here you also see it's not the University of Southern Denmark, but this is the university or the technical high school in Zurich where I was doing my master degree in sports science. So I just thought in the next about 20 minutes, I will first dive in a little bit into my own dual career journey, what made it possible, what did I learn, and yeah, what was my pathway. And as you also heard, I'm doing some research concerning dual career. I will try to make some kind of a very short overview and then also show some research which we have been doing in Denmark, where I'm living now, about more the environmental approach towards dual career and what we can take away from there. So if I start back at my dual career journey, which I thought started about when I was 12, I was already jumping over 100 meter on skis, which is a big leap for a small guy like me when I was just 12 years old. Luckily, I grew up in this nice town you see on the screen with this big church. There was the National Training Center for ski jumping. We didn't have a facility to really jump on the hill, but we made all the physical training there. So when I started to train daily, I actually just had to walk from the gymnasium, which was integrated in this school, to the training facilities at the end of the building. So there was no commuting in that kind of sense that I needed to travel to go to a training. But we already had a lot of traveling days because we didn't really have jumping hills in Switzerland and most of the competitions were abroad. So there was really, it taught me from a young age to somehow prioritize when I need to really be in school with exams and when I can also go for a competition or I'm away for training camps for a whole week. I was part of a normal school class. It was not like a sports gymnasium. And I think that also was pretty healthy because most of my friends, they did some kind of sport, but there was a lot of interest in also music and partying at that time, of course, which is also a way which you do as a teenager. So it gave me already like a pretty big responsibility to create my own dual career highway or pathway. And I could actually have one more year to finish my gymnasium with some special solutions we tried to negotiate, but it was not like I was not part of a dual career program. It was often negotiating, and my parents supported me, and then also the school was actually quite responsive for that. Later on, when I started to study in Zurich, which is 1 hour away by train, it was more with commuting. It was also, I studied a sports science degree, and you can think, yeah, it's obvious because they have a lot of understanding. But they also made clear for me that we are educating sport teachers, not elite sport athletes. So again, there I had to find a lot of bilateral solutions with all the lecturers, and I was already on the World Cup tour, and I also actually participated at Olympics when I was studying in Zurich. That was we came back pretty successful at the Olympic Games, and that highlighted also we got more respect for doing a dual career, because most of my students were not in elite sport. But it was really like, again, important to find out what is obligatory, when can I travel, and how can I be so much away from the studies, and really trying to catch up and learn independently. So for sure, a lot of competences were needed. I had a good, you say, community both in the side of the students. I had really good friendships there, and on the other hand, I had all my teammates from ski jumping and the traveling and so on. And maybe in the beginning was quite blurred. So during the dual career, I had to find out to make more like a distinction between those different roles. That took some time, so I could maybe even within one day I had to switch roles from, okay, now I'm doing a pedagogical study. I'm together with my student friends, and in the afternoon I switched the button to elite sport with the mindset and the high performance attitude. And that was really a crucial point for me to balance this dual career and actually also use the benefits from the sport studies for my sport career. So my learnings was that for me, it was not just, I did not just a dual career to be prepared once I maybe finish with my sport. It was really something which made sense to me, both in terms of getting more knowledge, curiosity, and luckily I could really transform many of those things I learned at the studies also for my sport in terms of nutrition, training philosophy, sport psychology, and so on. That was a really, really nice way to develop as a person. Competencies, I said before, maybe you can always discuss what comes first, the egg or the chicken. I think it is also some kind of a prerequisite to have really competencies to balance this career, but I also, of course, improved along the way with planning, organizing, and time management. But I think I was already pretty strong at that at a young age, which also made it possible to have a dual career without a specific program. Yeah, my parents, my coaches, especially later in my career, were really supportive for my dual career. They knew that it's important for me, that I need to develop not just in the sport, but more in general. And with all these solutions we found, I think I could really somehow make the dual career which was possible, and which also was feasible with my sporting commitment at the time. So there were many points to that, I think. Now, when we switch topic a bit away from my own journey to the research, I have here a few bullet points. Actually, I was just before on the FISU homepage, and the definition of dual career says it's combination of sport and study. I would say it also includes actually sport, study, or sport and work, which is another definition. Of course, most of the research has looked at the combination of sport and education, because most of the researchers, they are in educational institutes, so it's easy access to the population, and it's also fewer athletes which combine sport with a vocational career, even though many athletes also have to work to finance their athletic career. So in the beginning, most of the research actually looked more at the individual. What does the athletes need to have, or what kind of competencies they need to have to be able to make a dual career? What is their motivation for the combination? And are dual career athletes, do they have better grades than the normal students? And do they make more credit points? So there was more focus on the individual in the beginning. Then more and more now research looks also at the program and at the support. Who are those people supporting the dual career providers and so on? What kind of competences do they need to have to help the athletes in the best possible way? And of course, there's a lot of research going on in America, because the normal pathway is going through the educational with the colleges and NCAA and so on. So there has been a lot of research being done there, but otherwise most of the research has been done in the European context. also with support of the Erasmus projects. And here we see often also given the funding across national projects where we look at how is dual career working on in different countries. And that was actually also part of my PhD. I looked at how dual career is organized in Switzerland, Poland, and Denmark. And we could really see that the dual career opportunities, they extremely shape athletes' career in general, what kind of pathway they take, and how does it also influence the career transition out of sport. And what we could see here is also that people in those different systems had some kind of different, you can see, dual career mindsets, where, for example, in Denmark, it's almost like a prerequisite to study, because it's the idea that you have to be educated to be a good person, and this keeps you longer in the sport. Whereas in Switzerland, it's more a little bit like laissez-faire. It's up to the athlete. If you think this is good for you, then do it. And if you think you need to go all in on sport, it's also fine. You can always do education later on. And in Poland, it's like quite clear that when you're an elite athlete, then you go and study sport science because you get all the different benefits, and you also stay in the sport system afterwards. So we could see that there was quite a lot of differences in how people think about dual career and how it affected the dual career pathways along the way. Now at the last bullet point, you see now there is also more and more focus coming in to mental health in relation to dual career. We heard in the introduction that we also talk now about burnout, and that it's really difficult. It's not just benefits to combine it. There's also maybe a price to pay. And here we, of course, look at environments who can support athletes in their best practices. And I will just, in a few next minutes, try to look at the study we did in Denmark, who had an approach to look at a dual career development environment. Yes. So what we did in Denmark, our research unit where I'm sitting, we have a so-called holistic ecological approach. So we actually look more what's going on around the athlete. And I think this model here shows that pretty well, that we think, okay, we have athletes in the middle, which are integrated in a microenvironment. This is the people or the peers which they have somehow more or less daily contact. And outside would be more the macro context, which is, of course, we have the three domains, is study, sport, but also private life. It's not just dual, they are also just normal persons which have families and peers. So what we see here in this case, which we try to display with this model, is that this is a university in Aarhus, which has been having a dual career program for many years. They really had a very strong and well-equipped dual career support team, which was in close contact with the athletes. You can say the arrow is very thick, so it's a good relationship. But the dual career support team also is in all kind of contact with the national agencies, but also the local agencies in terms of sport, education. They talk to the teacher, they talk to the coaches. So somehow they have a pretty good overview what's happening in the individual athlete's life. So it's not the athlete who has to communicate with everyone. So it's actually that the dual career support team is having this function and has been doing that for some years. And if we look more at the processes, what's going on in the system, then you could see every dual career environment has some kind of preconditions. It could be, what kind of facilities they can use, how many people are working there, and if they also have some kind of a tradition with dual career athletes. And then in the processes, you could see what are they doing actually. Here we can see that they have built up also such a study buddy philosophy that, of course, there is always good if student athletes which have been already doing that or which are maybe in the third year, they can help the younger student athletes. And of course, there is personal study plans and they do networking, and a lot of information is provided in different areas. But what we also saw that that actually in this environment, there's some kind of a shared philosophy, how we think dual career should be optimal, be balanced. And it's actually this balancing process, which is one of the key elements. It's also the idea that they are not just athletes or dual career athletes. They are more than that. They're really persons. But of course, as athletes often think, sport comes first. This is the priority, and the study, they somehow go along with that. This is also important to provide these flexible solutions that dual career can be sometimes can be more focused on the sport and sometimes can be more focused on the studies. So we actually see in this as an outcome on the right, you could see that those student athletes, they are pretty successful in terms of sport. They win medals and have very good results. They are good students in terms of grades, and they also are pretty happy with how their dual career is working. So you can say also mental health or their well-being is actually pretty high. So to take away, go for my last slide. I hope I'm still having a little bit time for that. So I think we have to understand that dual career is not just something you do as a safety net or something you can fall back on retirement, because this is not really a good argument for a 14 or 15-year-old. I think it has to make sense. It has to be something you also are interested. You do that for your personal development. And I wrote here as a second point also, it can be really stressful at times, because we know they have 70, 80, 90 hours per week, sometimes workload, which always goes, of course, then restitution and recovery is very much reduced. And also here it really needs that not only the athlete knows this overall load, but people who support them, they need to know what kind of how much they are involved in sport, in study, and how much it demands in the overall preparation. So what we saw in the studies also done in other countries, it's important that we facilitate that school, sport, and also private domain, they talk together. We need to provide flexible solutions. And whole person approach means student athletes are not just students and athletes, and they have also time for hobbies. They have time for their interests, and this is not to forget in terms of well-being, of course. I said before, role models can be used. This is, I think I'm now some kind of a role model here to talk about my dual career, but often, of course, if they are more proximal within the same sport or within the same university, these are really like influential persons who can guide and show how is it possible, how to prioritize, and what did they learn from their own career. So I'm ending my presentation here, and I think we have time for discussion and questions later on. So,
excellent, Andre. A wonderful thank you, Andre. A wonderful presentation, and your timing was impeccable. So that's a wonderful start for us. We have a question in the chat box, and I would just like to make it clear that we will go through each of the presentations initially, and we will allow then a Q&A towards the end. So if you have some questions, please pop them into the chat box also for the questions and answers, if you'd like to do that, and we'll facilitate those questions at the end. Also, we've had a query from an attendee in relation to sharing the presentations, and I'm sure each of our speakers would be happy for us to share the presentations, and we can provide that, Bertrand. I'm sure that would be acceptable. Yeah. So, okay, without further ado, I'm going to just make sure that we are ready to start with our next speaker, who is Louis Van Zyl, a lecturer in Humanities in Education and Sports Practical Coordinator at the Faculty of Education at the University of Pretoria in South Africa. As a 3-time 400-meter hurdle Olympic athlete who also represented South Africa at various prestigious events from 2001, he has gained considerable experience in transition to senior and elite sport. His main research area covers athlete performance pathways and dual career experiences. And we're really excited and looking forward to hearing Louis' presentation and his on his research in a comparative study between South Africa and USA systems. So Louis, the floor is yours. I'm giving you 20 minutes and I will give you a 1-minute signal. Okay?
Thank you very much, colleagues. Can you all hear and see me?
No, actually, we can't see you. And we so Bertrand, has Louis got sharing rights?
Maybe just give me sharing rights and also switch on my camera, please.
Yeah, but you are allowed to use your camera, and you should be able to share your slides. So you have a button on the tab, you have share, and you can share your screen.
Share window and tab.
On the top right, you have a share button, and you can share your slides. If not, I can share them for you.
Maybe you can just share it. I click on the share window or tab, but it's not sharing.
So.
And perhaps your camera also, Louis, you might try if it's possible to get your camera.
It's bolded out, so I cannot share it.
But can you see now the slides?
Yes, I can see your slides. Maybe I can just, for the sake of time, I can start. Colleagues, thank you very much for the opportunity to share my dual career story and also some research I've done while participating and comparing the South African context with our student athlete that studied in the US. I think firstly, I can relate to the previous speaker, Professor Andreas Kittel, about participating at the highest level. My event was the 400-meter hurdles. I was very fortunate enough to represent South Africa at 3 Olympic Games, Beijing 2008, London 2012, and Rio 2016. And at the same time, I did my B.Ed undergrad, B.Ed honors degree. I also started a master's. And when I retired, I also did a master's degree at the German Sports University, MA in Olympic Studies. And simultaneously, I also tried to juggle this dual career and all the impact and the challenges I also experienced. But currently, I'm doing a PhD degree at the University of Pretoria, where I'm also a lecturer in the Department of Humanities Education. And my PhD study is about 12 different Olympians, sporting codes, about reflecting on their careers. They all retired. And one of my main research questions is to the participants the challenges and the success stories of this juggling act, the balancing the academics and sport. And some of them couldn't manage to do this balancing act. And with the result is it's difficult for them when they transition after sport and then start working or start studying from scratch. You can present my next slide. Oops. And just go one back, please. So my article I wrote, it was published earlier this year in the African Journal of Career Development, and the title was Dual Career Experiences of South African Student Athletes at Universities. In the context of this study, so I had 4 participants that left the South African high schools that remain in the South African student athlete system at our universities. And 4 of the participants got bursaries in the United States, where they also had the NCAA dual career system. And interesting enough, the challenges is way different if you're trying to compare the two groups. And I'll share it now. Okay, next slide. So For the backgrounds, I firstly gave an overview of what is dual careers, and I think Professor Kittel summarized it very neatly and unpacked it. So the focus of the article was the differences in experience between South African student athletes studying in South Africa and those studying in the US. They all South African citizens, of course, but some of them got bursaries overseas. And the objectives of the study was to identify challenges and support systems in both environments. The aim is to compare the experiences of the South African athletes between South Africa and the US. So my initial sample was 12 student athletes, all South Africans, 4 in South Africa and 4 in the US. And the research site was, I took athletes that represented South Africa in high school level at 2 different World Junior Championships in track and field athletics. And afterwards, some of them remained in South Africa and some of them went overseas. And my method was semi-structured interviews, about 45 minutes to 1 hour. And also, I interviewed all these participants in several locations. And some of them were former teammates. And then it was easy for me to access them. Okay, next slide. Okay, the key challenges for the student athletes that remained in South Africa. So the transition from the dropout rate from that World Junior Championships, the next level is the under 21 and the under 22 championships is more than half of the participants never participated ever again and in the next age group. There's a resources limitation in South Africa. So I vividly remember one of the challenges was in high school, now you have a certain coach. Now you reach university level, now it's a total different training program and the qualification standards is high. And the high school coach, there was no communication between the high school coach and the university coach. And that's problematic. So that with the result is some of the participants got injured and lost motivation. Medical care was a challenge, financial support and bursaries was limited. And systemic challenges, the higher education systems is limited, especially if you look at the sports context. Balancing academics and sport, it's not necessarily integrated. The academic departments at this university in the sport departments, although they work in the same environment, but there's no alignment between them. So the athletes had to run around between the academic department and the sport department, especially those of them that remained in the system. And when they got selected for a team or the South African championships, if they lose class time, then they have to come back and struggle themselves to catch up. For example, the Faculty of Education, the faculty where I'm working at, there's about 1,700 students, and we only have one faculty student advisor. So that is a problem. But in the United States, my next slide will show there's for each sporting coach there's way more support. Okay, next slide, please. Thanks. So the US-based athletes, student athletes, the NCAA framework is a comprehensive support, including specialist coaching, medical support, and scholarships. The athletes didn't report any shortfall with especially training facilities that we have in South Africa. Attire, coaching support, and all that. The challenges was there was high pressure to meet the performance and also the academic standards. There's one of the clauses is the eligibility to play was definitely a challenge. What I didn't include in my slides, what I see in the article now, what I've also picked up, also personal challenges and also culture. Personal challenges. The South African athletes, when they reached the US, about of the 4 athletes, 3 of them returned back to South Africa within 6 months. And some of the main reasons is they feel almost like loneliness because they different culture, different language. If they're not used to the English language, although we have English in our high schools, and they felt lonely, and then they returned to South Africa within 6 months. Although the 4th participant, he actually made the 2016 Olympic final when he raced against Usain Bolt in the final. So, and he did his qualification at that specific university. So I think if the athletes can just maintain, or if the NCAA system can just keep athletes within a year to help them with transition more, it will be beneficial. My next slide, please. Okay, the key challenges for the African student athletes studying in the USA, as I said, the language. So from the 4 participants, this one is quite interesting. So the 3 athletes that returned to South Africa within 6 months, they all went to Afrikaans, that's one of our languages, high schools. And the 1 athlete that made the Olympic final went to an English high school in Selborne College in East London. He actually made the Olympic final after that transition. And also interesting enough, the athlete that remained in the NCAA system who made the final, he went to boarding school in high school. Boarding school, if you don't know the terminology, so he didn't live with his parents. He grew up about 200 kilometers from the high school, and he was forced to be on his own and already separated in high school. Also, what was noted is its culture. The South African culture it's way different than the US athletes, although there's a lot of international athletes in the system. Personal challenges, loneliness in the transition, and that's some of the reasons they couldn't have this dual career successfully. Okay, in South Africa, we have the long-term athlete development model. It's actually a model that we borrowed from Canada, and we tried to implement it in South African sporting context. But that model doesn't cater for necessarily this dual career. You'll see on my next slide that it only focuses on the physical part, and it's, in my opinion, it's not a long-term athlete development; it's a short-term athlete development. But on the other side, the NCAA system is way more structured. And there's way more resources to help student athletes. So what I did on this slide, so on the left-hand slide, we have the physical development of the athletes. In South Africa, of course, we have the active start, grade 1. It's the first year of primary school, all the way up to high school. That's the training to win phase. But on the other side is the academic system that we have here. But the challenge that we have in this dual career, the dual career works perfectly in our high school until the age of, let's say, 18, the arrow at top. But the transition after this two phases, there's no integration between the two departments. The department on the left-hand side is the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. And on the right-hand side is the Department of Basic Education and also higher education, but there's no connectiveness between the two models. My next one, please. So in this high school university transition, the US support, there's way more mentoring, tutoring, guidings, and balancing sport and this academics that's needed. In South Africa, it's limited support in the transition. You're all alone, and it's all new. That transition is problematic that the participants noted. Next one, please. So the key findings, the dropout retention, the dropout factors, as also I can link it also to Professor Kittel, stress, lack of support, and also high stress levels, the cultural adaptation. So this statistics of the 2 World Junior Athletics groups that I indicated previously, so 82% of the athletes that participated in that 2 World Junior groups, that's 2 years apart, only 82% continue with athletics at the Olympic trials 2 years after the World Juniors. So in the US, the retention is higher due to integrated systems. It works better, but there's also the downfalls. South African limitations, economic and political factors impacted the participants. Next one, please. Some recommendations. It's on my last slide of my last page of my article. So for South African, we can, if I say we, South Africa can learn from the NCAA system to have a more holistic development for South Africans, increase financial and logistic support for student athletes. If I can remember from the sample, the majority of students did not live close to a university. So the logistics between going home, back, and also the training programs, especially in the vacation time, was difficult for them to adapt to. And if they come back from holiday to their parents' visit, it was difficult for them to come back and catch up with the other athletes, and also to provide specialized academic advising. More student advisors that I've mentioned. There's only one for 1,700 students. That's a concern, especially the high performance sports athletes. Next one, please. Recommendations for US university, the NCAA system. If the athletes can keep continuing in the system for the first year, when they reach university level, they've got a higher chance to adapt and make a success and have the benefits of the system and all the facilities and the environment. Another recommendation is the I call it non-English or the English second language students. There should be a language support before arrival in the US, especially those that didn't went to a traditionally English school in South Africa. And the third recommendation I can make is psychological support in the transition, especially in the students that feel lonely, and they should be also included in that psychological support. I think that's my last slide. Okay, in summary, the US offer a comprehensive support for dual careers, while South Africa face more significant challenges. Future outlook, need to improve integrated model in South Africa, especially with the 2 departments of basic education and the sports, arts and culture departments. There need to be some sort of memorandum of understanding that will help the dual career. Thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation.
Louis, that was an excellent presentation, very informative and extremely interesting to see the differences between the South African system and the USA or American system. And we'll come back to questions in relation to that as well. And again, I'd just like to remind people that we have a Q&A box. So if you wish to put some questions into that for our 3 speakers, we will take those at the end of the session. But yes, some very interesting information, which and even noting the comment in relation to the psychology support, which brings us really nicely into our final speaker, Samien Abed Kojaste. I hope I'm doing okay on your pronunciation of your name, Samien. and delighted to welcome you and introduce you. So Samian has a BA in psychology from Paynor University and a master's from AISTS. She has over a decade of international experience as a professional badminton player and a successful career as an entrepreneur. Combining her expertise in psychology, coaching, project management, and digital marketing, she has supported many athletes in building their personal brands through social media and influencer marketing, which, as we all know, is a huge area in the modern day and today's athletic dual career world, so to speak, and the world in general. So, Samian, you will have your 20 minutes. I again like to compliment Louis on keeping within his time frame. So we give you the floor, Samian.
Well, thank you so much. I don't have access to share my presentation yet. If you could please share it from your side, I would really appreciate that.
Thank you, Bertrand.
Sorry. Not a good one. This one.
Well, thank you so much for the kind words and great introduction. And yeah, thank you again. You pronounced my name perfectly. I'm Samina Khojeste, and I'm so glad to be here today to share my journey as a professional badminton player, a sports psychologist, and someone actively involved in sport development and representing two countries, Iran and now Switzerland. Which has been a unique experience. And alongside my athletic career, I've also pursued my academic achievements in both countries. And I hope this presentation opened new doors of thoughts for you. And next slide, please. Talking about my badminton journey and my badminton career, I had the honor of representing Iran national team for over a decade, holding the national champion title for 8 years, and competing in World and Asia Junior Championships, and achieving the Junior World Ranking 70 and Senior Best of 150 until age of 20. And after moving to Switzerland, I found an amazing team that supported me, and now I can represent Switzerland in international tournaments, which is another great opportunity and honor. One of my guiding motto is previous slide. Yeah, one of my guiding motto is, if there is a dream, there is always a way. And this belief has driven me through all my challenges in life. I remind myself to trust my dreams, work hard, stay patient, and believe in myself and also the universe. This faith led me to leave Iran national team 5 years ago and build a future that I really wanted to. And actually it worked. And after 4 years, I returned to international tournaments, and this time I was also started my professional career. Next slide, please. The first topic that I want to talk about is time management. Balancing training and academic was one of my biggest challenges. When pursuing my bachelor degree, I was at the peak of my competitions, trying to qualify for Tokyo Games. And later I completed my master degree while I was trying to adjust to life in Switzerland and playing in the Swiss League and European League. But the key to manage this was the time management. What helped me was to set clear goals and break down into long-term, short-term goals, and then daily plans, and then daily goals. And then use time efficiency. For example, I studied during the bus ride, flights, and between training sessions, and also even during the university lunchtime. The other thing which is very important is focusing on quality over quantity. It helped me balance everything. For instance, for university entrance exam, while other students studied 8 hours a day, I could only manage 3 to 4 hours due to the training. However, I maximized my focus and I ensure that I'm studying very well and also getting enough sleep for my recovery. Next slide, please. Talking about academic and athletic commitments and pressures. As a student athlete, I learned to focus on one task at a time. I approach exams and competitions with the same mindset. View failure as a learning opportunity. For me, in sport, we either win or learn, and this perspective applies to academies as well. Always try to analyze your performance and then plan again and start again. Seek feedbacks and communicate. I regularly discuss my performance with the coaches and professors, which help me to improve and feel supported. What is very important is to do not feel shy to ask more questions and ask support. And next slide, please. The other thing which is very important is mental health and well-being. Managing dual career is very stressful, especially when I moved to Switzerland, living alone, adapting to a new environment, balancing finances, studying in other language, and training. I realized the mental health is more important. And what helped me, I tried to taking breaks and practice meditation, which really helped me to stay balanced. And I worked with the psychologist, which was very helpful. To know someone is there to listening to you and support you is a great feeling. And today, as a sports psychologist, I help over 15 athletes manage their mental well-being and performance, which I believe is essential for reaching goals both in sport and education. The other thing which is important, and we often forget it, is celebrating success and setting goals. Having a clear milestone and celebrating small victories kept me motivated. Visualization for me was the key. I often imagined where I wanted to be in 10 years. And this mindset helped me to achieve my goals. Addition to my athletic achievements, I founded my own badminton academy and brand. And I earning the degrees and start my professional career and also able to support many other athletes. Next slide, please. The other topic which I think very important is building support system. No athlete succeed alone. My family, especially my parents and sister, coaches and friends have been pillars of support. And building my own support system was crucial for both time back in Iran and also when I moved to Switzerland. I always try to surround myself with the people who believe in me and who help me to grow and go farther. Conversation with coaches after every tournament helped me analyze my performance and strategy improvement. And also with professors after each class to discover the field that I am interested to continue my professional career in. And next slide, please. And now talking about culture, adaptability, and flexibility. Adapting to the life in a different environment is very important when we're traveling for the competition and trainings. I always try to learn from different athletes from different countries to know how do they manage their dual career, to embrace new coaching style and find the best strategy which work for me. I also try to learn from different culture norms and even dietary habits when I'm traveling. For example, in Southeast Asia, I adjust my meals based on the climate. And I believe that we cannot live with old habits in a new environment. And it actually helped me a lot. And it also helped my performance in those countries. And this experience have made me more adaptable and helping me to be more productive in diverse environments. Next slide, please. Now talking about post-graduation plans, looking ahead, I focus on building a long-term vision behind my badminton career. If we look at our athletic journey, it taught us leadership, project management skills, and many other skills. Now we need to try to find how we can drive changes with the set of skills that we have, how our community can benefit from our sports and also from the skills that we have. And then we can think what we want to do after we reach that athletic goal, after we winning that gold medal, after we winning that important competition. For me, I always had in mind the importance of financial planning and creating personal brand. And my goal is to combine my professional experience and academic knowledge to help other athletes achieve their dream. Even though I didn't become an Olympian, I aim to support others to reach that milestone. And next slide, please. To conclude, academic and athletic journey complement each other. They teach us resilience, focus, and adaptability. Be realistic, not restrictive, and surround yourself with the people who inspires you and support you. In this journey, remember, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, we need to go together. And every day, just try to take one step forward. You don't need to be the best. You need to be better than yesterday. And the next slide. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for joining us and listening to my presentation. And feel free to contact me on social media under Samin Khojasta name, and I look forward to engaging in deeper conversation with you. Thank you.
Wonderful, Samin. Wonderful, superb presentation, and lovely to get the perception of and the understanding and appreciation for you as an athlete going through that process. But I was particularly interested to hear about your transition from Switzerland, so from Iran to Switzerland. So perhaps I'll come to a question on that in the moment. But I'd like to just, again, if there's anybody, we will take 10 minutes of questions and answers to allow people in the attending to ask any questions. I'm just looking at this moment. And there are two questions at this moment that I'd like to just refer to in the question section. So a question for Andre. Weren't you always torn, even daily, between putting sport or studies first? And who helped you choose? And actually, I think while we're putting this question to Andre, I can actually put it to each of our speakers to give us their opinion on that question. So Andre, starting with yourself, were you torn every day between putting sport or studies first? The balance, I suppose, is the question been asked about here.
Maybe when I was younger, I didn't pose this question to myself every day. I don't think so. But as Samin also highlighted, I knew when I went to bed what I will do next day. And when I got up, I somehow made a plan. Okay, in the morning I have school, then I will try to relax. Then I change my mindset. I go to training, and I want to have somehow the best out of each session of the day. And so there were times when I was also injured, when it was very helpful to have a dual career where I could focus on, for example, writing a master thesis instead of being at home and just, thinking, I cannot train. My teammates are now traveling and I'm so miserable. So in that period, it was extremely helpful to have something meaningful, something which really demanded your focus and your attention. So there were times when I was at competition when I didn't think about my dual career at all, and then there were times when I really focused on the studies where I didn't think so much about ski jumping. And I think this space to step back and see a bit from a wider perspective helped me a lot. And it was great to hear, Samin, how you were learning when you were traveling, and it makes me think back about my own dual career. Which now also gave me these competences to conduct a PhD and set those little daily goals, and somehow know that in 4 years maybe I'll visualize myself getting a degree, but it's actually not. It needs the daily work and just the small steps towards that. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for that, Andre. And yes, I think, Samin, you perhaps answered that in your very eloquently put around your time management, where you spoke about long-term, short-term, and even weekly and daily goals, which to me sound really, significant. And as well as that, even along the train journey or the plane journey or whatever, you had the books out. And I think that's something that it's a mindset, isn't it? Would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So for me, I never choose badminton or my athletic career than education. I always try to have both at the same time. And since I had it in mind since I was 9 years old, because I started playing badminton when I was 6. So now in this age, when now I'm 25, so it's easier for me to manage both. But yeah, I always had this long-term vision that, okay, I want to be national champion, but at the same time, I want to finish my school and then I want to be a psychologist. So to do both, every day I need to do something related to badminton and also something related to my education. So when I was young, I remember I was doing all my homework during the breaks that we had in school because I didn't want to lose the time to go training after school, and then also to prove my parents that I'm doing my studies and I can continue training badminton. And until like high school, I always had the best marks, and I was always like one of the top students in the school. So I really believe that with the good time management and also with the planning, we can really do both. And once we teach these to athletes in a young age, then it will be one of their skills that they can develop it when they're when they're going to university and then they start their professional career. And it was the thing that really helped me when I moved to Switzerland. I was doing my master and it was very intense, but I was really planning my studies and I was doing my training during, again, lunch breaks and also in the evening because I really wanted to do both. So I think it's very important having the big picture where we want to go and then start very slow, very small, every day, just one step forward toward the education goal and also toward the athletic goals that we have.
Wonderful, Samin. Thank you for that insight. Louis, would you have anything you'd like to add to that, or?
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think you don't have to choose academics or sport. And my experience is when I had academic success, that same years I also had sporting success. So it's good for the mind. It's good for pressure. It's good for just something else than just athletics and running around the track, see the same people every day, the same routine. So I think, so I mean, you also mentioned about the time management. So I think if you just work out a schedule, Mondays 8 to 10, you work on your thesis or your postgrad or undergrad, and give you time off. Like Sundays, I did normally nothing, but Saturday evenings, once a month, I work from 6 to 10. And on the Monday, I was almost like my mind was fresh. You get tired because the athletics competition, especially South African athletes, you start competing your season like in February all the way through to the Olympics or World Championships or Commonwealth Games until July, August, almost in September. You get tired of running, and to have this dual career, the academic part, it helps you just to stay put your life in context. So yeah, I think it's
excellent. Excellent, Louis. Thank you for that contribution. And that brings us nicely to a question from Kelvin, who's in Zambia. And Kelvin has directed his question at Samin, but I think it could go to our other speakers also. His question is in relation to academic sacrifices that you may have had to make during your time in college and the opportunities that you may have missed out on because of these academic sacrifices. And do you feel that this has happened for you? And if so, what's your sense on it?
Yes, so the journey was it's more difficult. If I want to compare my journey with the other athletes or also with the other students, it was more difficult because the time that I could rest, the time that I could enjoy with friends, I was focusing on the other goal that I had. But I think it's really back to us because it was very important for me and I was so passionate about the goal that I had. So I really was accepting that sacrifice that I had to have to reach my goals, to, for example, qualify for Olympic and to be able to be psychologist. As I mentioned, when I finished my bachelor, it was at the time that I was trying to qualify for Tokyo, and then the national team told me that maybe I had to take a break from university, but I really didn't want to delay that, so I rather to study, maybe pass a few courses instead of just totally break. And it actually helped me. I finished my bachelor earlier than the other teammates, and then I could start my master. So the time that I was doing it, it was difficult, but as I had the passion and I was seeing my future, I was motivated to do that. And I think the other thing which is important, it should be really we have to be passionate about what we are doing. If we will be forced by the others, by environment to do that, yeah, it's really tough. And I also remember that when I decided to study psychology, the national team head coach told me that I'm doing the biggest mistake in my life because I cannot practice badminton and I have to focus on my studies, because mainly the national players, they study physical education. But I told them, no, I believe that I can do both. And I did. And I started my personal business earlier than them. And then I could achieve the athletic goals that I have. So this is very important, to choose what we are passionate about. And again, having a support team. My parents and family supported me a lot. And they asked me what do I want to study in university and how far I want to go with my badminton career. So I think these two are very important to reach the both goals that we have, academic goals and athletic goals.
Wonderful. Thanks, Amin. And I'm just going to go back into the questions and answers at the Q&A session there. We have, Verena has actually put a very valid question there, and I was reflecting on that myself, Verena. In relation to Louis, you might like to respond to this question. Do you have any insights regarding dual career programs in other African countries? And can you share with us best practice from your continent? This might be something you can do at a later date, but I found it quite interesting to see the significant difference between obviously South Africa and the States. But have you any insights into other dual career programs in South Africa or Africa at the moment? Louis, I'm not sure, you may be on mute if you're trying to speak with us. Okay, we may come back to Louis in a moment. Okay, so Therese has come on again. Samin, thank you very much for your very positive attitude. It's very inspiring. Was your move to Switzerland a choice? And if yes, what motivated it? So from Iran to Switzerland, why Switzerland, and was it your choice?
Well, my biggest goal was to be Olympian. So I had a lot of sacrifice to be Olympian, and I was trying for Tokyo 2020. And as you may know, it's a quite challenging journey for girl professional athletes in a country like Iran to reach the high level. Unfortunately, I didn't receive enough support to make my dream happen. And then it was the time that I see I cannot really reach the dreams that I have if I follow the same way. And that time I decided to continue my education and start to researching to do my master in sport management, sport science. And I searched and I found the best, the World Rank 1 master program in Switzerland regarding sport management. And that was the reason that I decided leave Iran and move to Switzerland. It was a very tough decision because I had to leave home, I had to leave my family, and I had to leave national team. So being a professional badminton player and playing international tournament was my whole life dream. But I decided to leave national team, but I promised myself that one day I will play international tournaments again. And that's why I really believe that if there is a dream, there is a way, and it happens after 4 years. And now I'm representing Switzerland. And even like the first 2 years, it was difficult to make this dream happen, but I was still motivated. Even though I couldn't play international tournaments, I was doing my practices and I was doing my studies because I really wanted to live that dream. So yeah, it was a decision that I made by myself, but due to the situation that I had, maybe I wanted to continue to be Olympian, like I could make it in 2024. But I saw the situation and I thought this is the best decision that I could make. And I'm so happy about that. And the other thing that made me to take this decision is that I was doing my both career at the same time. If back in Iran I wasn't studying, and if I wouldn't get my bachelor and then wouldn't improving my English, I couldn't make this decision. So I'm so grateful about that I had this dual career and I made this decision.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Samin. We have an interesting observation as well from our friend in Uganda, Muraz Muzi. Sorry, my apologies for pronunciations. Admiring the challenge as it is for a student athlete with the dual career, but seeking advice for a sports career post-studies. Andre, would you like to take that one maybe?
Yes, honestly, I didn't plan to go back to university and make a doctorate when I finished. I also didn't, it was a plan to move abroad because of my wife. She was a doctor in Denmark. So it was more the love which brought me to another country, not a strategic job choice. But I was always curious to like some, as I said before, like lifelong learning and educating myself. And it's also not so normal for actually formal student athletes to go into academics. We have several. Now, if you go back to Switzerland, I have several colleagues at the University of Bern, which have been doing or are doing PhDs at the moment, which had Olympic experience as an athlete. So it is somehow maybe also a way to give back. And now we are here in this webinar, somehow maybe a little bit biased because we all think and know that dual career is the greatest thing. And we hear Samin, you know, like with all your qualities, but we also have to acknowledge that this is not the case for all the dual career athletes. I had many teammates which were not interested in books or studying, but they made an apprenticeship, they made a job, they had already work experience during their athletic career. So for them, it was not like a huge change then to work afterwards because they had already like a network and experience out there, which is often a bigger challenge for student athletes, because it can be that I finished my degree in 2005 and I finished my career in 2011. So if I didn't actively were participating in further education and I was in different athletes commissions and so on. So if I just had a 5-6 years gap, and then I'd say, well, I have a master's degree, but actually I never worked, and I have some medals, but you know, so it is not necessarily much easier just because you have a high degree to this. We saw also in the study. So I think the dual career has to really match, as Samina says, the competences, the dreams, and we also have to know that not all the athletes are necessary future academics or are just going to university. So that's a bit my critical comment to that.
Yes, excellent observation, Andre, as well. And I suppose, you know, the bottom line here as well is that that is why it's called a dual career. It's getting, you know, the academic and having that career after you retire. So you have it's in your back pocket, so to speak, your degree. And God forbid that there would be an injury or something during your training, and that you have to exit early from your sports career. But that having that balance and having that security in your back pocket. And we've seen it here in Ireland with some of our Olympians who have retired from sport. There's a deflation, there's a kind of a drop, and it's trying to keep that motivation back up and keeping positive about the future with a good academic career ahead. Samin, a question there from Terry. Could you explain more in detail how you have developed your support system?
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So I had a very good relationship with my family, and I think which is the main point, because it really helps as a professional athlete. We face a lot of challenges and pressures, and having someone that you share the difficulties that you are experiencing. So my parents and my family was the main people that I always sharing with them. And the good thing was that they were there to listen to me. It wasn't like they just giving me advice and I feel like, okay, so they're not really understanding. So they were there to listening and then also helping me to decide what is the best for me to do. So I always feel that, okay, I have some people that they support me with the decision that I make. And then sometimes if they don't know like how to support me, they try to connect me with other professionals. For example, let's say if regarding the nutrition, it's about my trainings, they would always there to support me. How can I be connected with these professional people? And the other thing is that the coaches, and I try to always have a like weekly session with my coach, share all the practice that I was doing, and then all the mental challenges and also the feelings that I had in the training sessions. I think it's very important, the relationship between athletes and the coaches. And so she could really know like how do I really feel during the training and what is my goals and what is the difficulties that I'm facing. And the other thing I think which is important is friends, like having a 1-2 close friends that they really understand you and they like your goal is also important for them, and they are there to support you, because when you're a student athlete, you are not spending so much time with your friends, so they understand your situation, but they support you and they cheering you. I think it's important. And the other thing was my close relationship with psychologist that I had. She helped me a lot because I went through a lot of mental challenges, and I feel there is a lot of pressure by the federation, and I was very young, but I feel like everyone wanted me to get the results, and it was a lot of pressure for me. So that's like, it was the main people that I was in contact with them, and they really supported me. And now even I'm living alone here, I'm still like in contact with these people, and I know I have this team that they're supporting me whenever I'm going, and then the goals that I have is important also for them. So it's very important to having like a team of 5 people that you think you can trust them and share with them, and your goal is their goal. I hope that answered your question.
Excellent. And I'm taking from your observations there as well, is that the most important thing is communication and sharing your feelings and your experiences and getting advice. And so the communication and keeping that line of between all your different influencers around you, which is significant. I'm looking at the time. We've about 5 minutes left. Bertrand, I'm going to just again reiterate, if anyone has any question they'd like to put to the floor, you can add it to the questions and answers. Verena, I'm not sure if you've any comments or any observations you want to make. I know that Louis is having difficulty unmuting his, so Louis, are you there? I think Louis is having difficulty with his microphone. He's okay. So Verena, can I offer you the floor? Would you like to have any conclusions or any observations?
Thank you, Nessa. I think there are still some questions in the chat, so maybe.
Sorry, my apologies, Verena. Yes, I'll go back to the chat. It's over and back between the two. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think we've covered all the questions that are in the chat as well. Just looking there. Yeah, we've covered the questions that are in the chat as far as from I'm seeing. If you're seeing something otherwise, Verena, I'm happy for you too.
I can maybe still add a comment to the support network, because I said that I had a very good support in my private environment, especially also parents and coaches, but I had also very different coaches, especially in my teenage years. Some came from different sports systems. They had a different understanding about dual career, and not really like always greatest support. So again, like I think coaches play a really important role in either way hindering or supporting a dual career based on how much they think it will affect performance. If they think, as we heard, if it creates balance, and good development, and somehow we have research which shows that there is a benefit, then they will maybe most probably support it. But if they think, you need to focus 100% on the sport, everything else is distraction, it will not lead anywhere. So this is often the mindset which is out there, and the sport is the number one thing, and if you want to go to the top, you cannot have side things. And again, if the coach, like as Amin said, understands the person, understands where they come from, what is their goals, how they make meaning in their journey, and if they say education is really important for me, then if you take it away, then you will not support the athlete, and also there will not be a performance. So I still think that the coaches are really much key agent in this whole dual career setup.
Wonderful, Andre. Thank you for that additional insight. Georg, you have your hand raised. I'm not sure, Bertrand, if Georg has got access to.
I think
yes?
you can ask your question.
Great. Okay, Georg. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Thanks for giving me the floor. Thanks for the presentations. Nice to see so many familiar faces in the field of dual career. I just want to add a few sentences to the remarks that Andreas gave on the position of the coaches. Since I was the first elite sport consultant in German university in 2003, and since then I'm involved in the topic. And you're totally right. The coaches do have a crucial role within that field, but as well, the federations do have a crucial role to shape the mindset of the coaches. And very often, the economic basis of the coaches is the human capital of the athletes. That is strongly related with the contracts and the targeted contracts of coaches. And there are very, very few federations still, after now 12 years of having the dual career guidelines of the EU, for example, which are including the topic of dual career in the coaches' contracts, which are including the topic of dual career in the coaches' education, and thereby for the coaches, the first and most important topic within their responsibility for the athlete is only the sport. So it's even a question of the mindset and the approach of the federations, from my point of view, and thereby these kind of seminars and conferences that we have had in the past years. Andreas, you have been a presenter in the EAS conferences before, and a huge amount of researches that had been done within the EU sport projects, Erasmus Plus based projects, that pointed out it's a question that needs to be answered, especially on the side of the sport. The education system adapted in the last 20 years a lot to the needs of dual career athletes, but still the sport system is the one which needs to adapt to the to see the athlete in a more holistic way as it is done yet right now. And there are as well a lot of research which underlines that a successful dual career even contributes in a positive way to the sportive development, because you have 2 points in life which are you focused on, and you can deal much better with less success than expected in the field of sport if you are successful on the other point in your life, maybe the academic career. So I'm after more than 20 years now, I'm still convinced that we need to convince people within the sports system, and especially the coaches, of the benefit of a dual career, and as well making them responsible being a part of that.
Oh, excellent. Yeah, very interesting contribution, Jörg. Thank you for that. Andreas, coming to you with the question there from Marina. How do you view dual career studies as a field of study as a university professor? I'm a PhD student in Brazil, and I think we still have a lot to advance in this area. Welcome your thoughts on that.
Yes, as Jörg said, a dual career has been studied from very different perspectives. It can be political, can be from the education side, can be what are the individuals doing, how are the support providers doing. So I think just, the research has just started in the last 10 years, so it's a quite new field of studies. And yeah, there is more and more to come. I mean, it's important that research is per definition internationally, and the predominant research has been done in the States and in Europe, but that's why we welcome very much more studies around the world, which because dual career, as I said in my presentation, is very, very contextual and very cultural embedded, and it shapes the opportunities of dual career shape athletes' careers, and we know that they're very different in all the different parts of the world. So just do more research and we can learn from that. Yeah.
We're learning all the time. It's a constant cycle, isn't it? A continuous movement, but a very exciting time and very exciting movement. And Bertrand and Teresa have a kind of a similar question to put, and I think this will probably be one of our last questions, as we're running into our time. Does it the difference of an individual versus team sport, being individuals in your sport, has it influenced your situation or changed your situation? I will put that to Andre.
I'm not sure if I understand the question. I mean, there were very different samples involved in dual career research. Mostly it was looked into gender differences, because we heard this. I mean, said, I wanted to be the best in sport and I wanted to be the best in school. We know that the young guys often have a little bit of different attitude towards dual career, to take it a bit more laid back in school. But I'm not saying that there is huge, there is certain team sports which have a culture which they don't follow all towards the higher education, because the more professionalized the sport, the more you can have professional contracts. Actually, the lower is their educational level, and this is just something which is more in the culture of the sport. Yeah,
that's an interesting observation for sure. Samine, if you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, just the very quick points. I personally believe that there's some really differences between doing team sports or individual sports, but I personally believe that being a professional athlete is a lifestyle that shape individuals to develop themselves with essential skills. So either individual sports or team sports. And these skills not only support a dual career, but also prepare athletes for the career transition. So if athletes from the young age look at it that they are doing they are building their professional lifestyle, and then I think it will really help them either having a dual career or preparing for the career transition. Because as you said, one day we all have this career transition. We cannot compete until the age of above 35. There is some exceptions, but with high performance and then things like that.
Excellent, wonderful. I'm not sure, maybe we could give a last chance to Louis to join us. I think he's still having difficulty with his microphone. Louis, are you with us? No. Okay, Georg, you have your hand up there. Do you want to have another question? Yes, okay. Yes, the floor is yours.
Not really a question, maybe some recommendation or ideas. Contributing to what Andrea said on research. So I was invited in 2015 to the International Athlete Service Forum in Singapore. And there was a huge exchange between people doing that work in the field of dual career between Asia, Oceania, Africa, and Europe. And I miss a follow-up of this. I miss really a personal meeting on that level, and it's hopefully we can have a new volume on this kind of international exchange in the future, maybe with the support of FISU and as well, or the other organizations involved in that topic. And my second recommendation, or what drives him now, is really the topic of dual career of para athletes, because this is really an underrated field of research in the topic of dual career, and due to the fact that we will include the para sport into the FISU Games 25 in Germany. And we just have had an inclusive training camp in the Alps, preparing for the games in Torino. I think this is a topic which need to be researched much more in the future, because the sportive career and the education career of para athletes is totally different from that from the non-para athletes, and I think we should contribute more in this field in the future.
Excellent, George. Certainly an appetite. I agree totally with you in relation to the para-athlete movement, and something that, you know, the Education Committee should certainly take on board as well, Verena, in terms of the future conversations we're having. So thank you for that insight. I have Inveti, your hand is raised. Do you want to come in there for a question, please?
No, sorry, it's
be
LJ. I used my wife's laptop. Now, I
Ah.
thought it was maybe my laptop, but my mic was bolted out, so I couldn't unmute. Maybe just in 30 seconds, the colleague had asked about the African dual career programs. There's no formal dual career programs that I've picked up. There's informal ones. There's the Olympic Association and all that, but there's no formal support in the dual career. It all depends from university to university. But there's nothing formal now.
Wow.
Sorry.
Okay, Louis.
Thanks.
That's very, very interesting, isn't it? Wow. And, you know, there seems, in your presentation and your research, there seems to be a dramatic, you know, difference. And I was going to ask, in terms of your research, that surely this research has shown that there's a significant, you know, lack of support for dual career in South Africa, and that, you know, is there any way of influencing policy that you can see through your research?
There is. In my PhD, one of my recommendations is the system need to be improved. Athletes cannot be left alone and figure out this dual career by themselves. They need to be more from a governmental or a Olympic Association platform to assist with this dual career. That's not always easy.
Well, hopefully your research will certainly do something towards the future. Can I ask when that research was done, specifically the study that you presented to us?
It was published February this year, 2024, in the African Journal of Career Development.
Wow, excellent. Okay, that's something we'll certainly follow up on as well. So thank you for sharing that with us, Louis. Is there anything else, Louis, you'd like to add in relation to? I'm just conscious of time, and we're going to need to wrap up. Is there anything else you'd like to add? Because I know you were offline there for a little bit. Have you any other observations or comments you want to bring to us?
For now, nothing, but I'm open for discussion. I've left my email address in the chat. Any colleague that would like to engage, I'm happy, or to have a different session, I'm happy, I'm available, definitely. Thanks.
Yes, I think, Louis, will certainly be following up with you from the Education Committee point of view for sure on that one. Verena, would you like to have any closing statement? Because I'm very conscious of time. We've just gone about a few minutes over, so I think we need to wrap up. We don't have any other questions or observations, so perhaps, Verena, you'd like to bring this very interesting, wonderful presentation, 3 excellent speakers and excellent presentations, and a lot of thank yous in the chat box as well. So, Verena, I'll pass to you.
Thank you so much, Nessa. Well, at the end, thank you to all the speakers. I think everybody of us have now a lot of insights regarding support services at universities, but also on country level. We heard about the challenges of student athletes during their dual career, but also the transition period to the work market. And I'm always interested in the differences of region and countries. So when we see that there is a lack, for example, regarding dual career programs or activities in Africa, I think this is something we should also keep in mind when we talk about toolkits, what we offer now on the FISU website, or helping with policies in the future. I think this is really interesting and helpful information for us. So thank you to all the speakers. Thank you, Nessa, for your moderation. And we are all looking forward to welcome you again to the second session. And maybe Bertrand can say a little bit about the topic and the date. Thank you.
Yes. So save the date. Second seminar will be held on 25th of March 2025. And we'll have again 3 speakers. So that will be Catherine Taminen from Canada, from University of Toronto, Natalia Stambulova from Halmstad University in Sweden, and Lara Shehayeb, student athletes from the American University of Beirut in Lebanon. And the topic will be about, so this first webinar was aiming to introduce the topic of dual career, and now the upcoming webinars will focus on specific issues, and so the second webinar will address the specifically the mental health issues for student athletes, and so that will be the focus of the second webinar. So let's meet again 25th of March 2025, but of course you will receive invitations and communications on this webinar within the next few weeks.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone. Good to see you all. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.